So today's episode of Writing Notes is going to talk to you a little bit about brainstorming. Now, brainstorming is the process that we go through when we're trying to figure out what topic we want to write an essay about or what argument we want to make if we're writing an essay. Now, first off, if your instructor has given you a topic that you have to write about, you can go sort of make yourself a sandwich and skip over this first bit of the video. Come back in just a minute or so. If you get to choose your own topic, or get to choose your own topic within sort of a range of topics, there's a couple of things that you may want to do to figure out where you want to start this essay. So one is to figure out what you're interested in. And this seems deceptively simple, because what you need to figure out is, what am I interested in learning more about? What am I interested in researching? If it's a researched argument, what am I interested in thinking extensively and thinking critically about? What do I want to know more about? A lot of times, in my experience, students who sort of choose to write about, say, abortion or gun control or the death penalty or same-sex marriage or these sort of hot-button issues, they choose these topics less because they're genuinely interested in thinking about them extensively and more because they think it's going to be an easy topic to write about. Which is fine. It is fairly easy to write about. Two big problems with choosing a topic that you think is going to be easy but you're not terribly interested in. One is that it's very difficult to say something new about a hot-button issue. Most of the arguments in favor of or against abortion have already been made. So if you have to contribute something new, if you have to make an argument, make an original sort of claim or an original thought, it's going to be challenging, super challenging. The other problem with choosing a hot-button issue is that they're not that fun unless you're genuinely interested. Like if you're super like gung-ho, I want to learn more about gun control, fine. And there's three problems. The third problem is that most people already have some sort of opinion on these topics, and that doesn't make for a good critical paper, good research paper, because the idea behind a good research paper or good critical paper is that you go into it and maybe you have a sort of working hypothesis, but you're not sort of tied to that. It's not. So like I go into my dissertation process saying, all right, this is what I think these texts are saying within a certain, this is what I think these plays are saying within a certain context of social and economic conditions, but I'm prepared to revise the way that I'm talking about these plays. And that's really the sign of a good scholar. But if you have a personal investment, a religious investment, a cultural or familial investment in, say, mountaintop removal, that's not necessarily a good strategy for starting a critical project. If you are unwilling to say, well, maybe there are legitimate arguments in favor of abortion or against capital punishment or whatever it is, that's maybe not the best topic for you, because what you want to do as a critical thinker and as a critical researcher and a critical arguer is to evaluate all of the information as objectively and as honestly as you possibly can, and then come to a decision based on all of that information. So, you want to pick something that you're interested in, something that you want to learn more about, and not necessarily something that you have a tremendous personal commitment that's going to make it difficult for you to revise the way you're thinking about that topic. So once you've got a general sort of topic, and this is where the people who went to get a sandwich before can start back in. Once you've got a general sort of topic of what you want to write about, now the question becomes, how do you find ideas, or how do you generate ideas? And there's a couple of good ways of doing this. One is what we call free writing. So free writing involves, you just sort of take a topic and you write for 5 minutes or so continuously, and this is not sort of, I'm trying to make my argument, or I'm trying to sort of preliminarily sketch out this thing. This is just whatever it is that comes to you about this topic or related to this topic, you put on the page. And then you can go back in and you can identify keywords or key ideas from that. And you can do this free writing process over and over, and this will help you sort of narrow down what you think is important or what you think is interesting. Another option that you have is what we call mind mapping, or webbing, or clustering. It's got a bunch of different names. Most people have probably seen this before, so this is probably already something you're familiar with. But essentially what you do is you put a word in a circle in the middle of a blank piece of paper, and then you draw lines out for it, connecting it to other ideas. So if we put, say, music in the middle, so you're interested in music, you want to write about it, you may have a branch that says rock and roll, classical, hip-hop, folk, whatever it is. So you get these sort of branches off of it, and those give you sort of big sub-ideas. And then you do branches off of the smaller branches. So off of your branch of rock, you may put punk, you may put Jimi Hendrix, you may put electric guitar. Off of classical, you may put Bach, you may put Baroque, you may put Mozart, you may put piano, whatever it is. So you're making these sort of connections further and further out, and one of the things that helps you to do both is generate more specific ideas, more specific focuses, but it also starts to show you connections between things. So you may think, all right, is there a way to draw a line? Is there some sort of connection between, say, Mozart and punk rock? And then that may start the wheels spinning, and that may help you figure out potential ideas that other people haven't necessarily thought of. Because what you want to do, ultimately, what you want to get to is a research question, or a sort of critical question where you're thinking about something in a new way, you're adding something to a conversation, to a critical conversation. You're thinking about something uniquely, and you're coming up with a unique idea or a unique interpretation, which is, again, very challenging to do. So, clustering, webbing, mind mapping, whatever you want to call it, gives you one opportunity for doing this. And there's an online technology that I'm sure there's actually multiple online technologies, but if you go to Bubbl.us, bubbl.us, that's their website, they have an online tool that will help you do mind mapping, and it'll draw the connections, it'll add bubbles and things like that for you. So again, basically, I'll give you a third technique, a third sort of brainstorming technique, which is probably much more basic, actually, than free writing or mind mapping, and that's just listing. So this works a bit, actually, like mind mapping, in the sense that it's about generating ideas and generating potential connections, but this is very basic. So this is not as visual as mind mapping, but basically you're just listing connections, listing ideas, listing sort of additional components of the technique, or not technique, additional components of the initial topic. So again, if it's music, you may list the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Mozart, Allman Brothers Band, piano, electric guitar, harpsichord, ukulele, whatever. You may just sort of list all of these different things, and then you sort of look through the list and say, all right, these are the ones that interest me. Maybe there's something I can do, either with all of these or with some of these, or there's one thing in particular that really jumps out at me as something I want to learn more about. And then as you start to do your process of research, or as you start to think critically about that thing, what you want to consider, especially if you're still in that sort of, I've got a topic, but I don't totally know what critical question I want to ask, or what argument I want to make. As you start reading, and as you start thinking, and as you start researching, what you want to consider is, what aren't these authors that I'm reading saying right now? So where are the gaps? Where are the holes? Where are the inconsistencies? Where's the contest? Where's the disagreement within the existing research? And that may give you a good sort of hole to go toward, because that'll let you see, all right, here's what people don't know, here's what they don't agree on, here's what I can contribute to this. And that's actually a really good way of approaching scholarly work, especially high-level scholarly work, because that ultimately becomes the goal, is to say, all right, here's an existing field, it's got its own discourse, it's got its own set of ideas, norms, whatever it is, but there are holes in it, and there are always holes in it. Even something that's been covered really, really thoroughly, there's still things that people haven't thought about, haven't researched, haven't made arguments about, whatever it is. And those are the things that you want to find to get yourself into that conversation in a meaningful way. So, thanks, and good luck.